Hey, Sarah the Metal Theologian. Does it sound like fucking Zeppelin? The drums sound great on this record though, and I just sort of started this up because I felt like hyping it a little bit. This is what I kind of been after for a while. I managed to find a pretty good deal on this thing, so look at that. You just know it's a fucking winner from the cover. I mean, they're called Fighter, no pain, no gain, whatever. But man, look at that. And here you go. If that like doesn't sell you the record right there, dude. It's funny for you because obviously Gary Curtis's band, like he wrote all the songs and shit, and he's a guitar player, probably the singer. I mean, it's his vocals for all of them, but if he wrote all the songs, that's probably him singing too. I strongly suspect, But oh my god, what an amazing looking band! I mean, he's clearly the one who like went all in with the rock and roll thing, These guys are from like Nashville, Madison, Tennessee. I had to look it up, so if you're from Nashville, apologies, but apparently it's a suburb of Nashville. And given what a backwater, I mean, Nashville's kind of a hopping place these days, right? I mean, they have some music history, but it's not metal, So I don't know when this record is exactly, like 85, 86, somewhere in there. Maybe this is on a label. Fuck, so I just can't do this. Like, I'm pretty much over the COVID. Like, today's like my first day where I feel like I'm pretty much back. But like, there's still enough of the brain fog going on that like looking at that label going around and around was just doing one of these was kind of fucking with my head. Anyway, man, look how fucking good Fighter is. And is this a great record? It's probably a little better than the War Child record, which I also played recently, actually. I've been talking about it on a stream. Where the hell is it? Here we go. You can tell I shelled out the big bucks for a pristine copy of this too, I mean, this is a really fun record too. The Fighter's probably a little bit more fun than this one. It feels a little bit longer. This one kind of feels a little bit half-baked in a way, This one, definitely, I mean, they both feel kind of hard rocky. I think, for a Fighter, I think I put my finger out a little bit more. It really sounds like 70s, like, metal band songwriting played in just barely an 80s idiom, which kind of explains why I've been so into this, because I've been so into that, new wave of British heavy metal shit that, this kind of scratches a similar itch from the standpoint of being amateurish and shit. Oh yeah, there's another story I thought about these guys. I noticed that there's special thanks to Madison Music, Shiloh Music, Winkler's Drum Shop, the Alamo of Nashville, and like some other people like that. Shiloh Music, I really wonder if that's like a local Christian bookstore, and like one of them worked there or something, and like, because there probably weren't a whole lot of musical outlets for, metal bands in Nashville at this point, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's a total fucking backwater. I mean, it's not like Nashville's, Dodge City, Kansas or something even then. Well, I won't go there. But it wasn't like a city known for its metal, So I totally salute these fucking guys for making it happen and bringing a really fun and really cool record to fruition out of it too, because these guys had nothing going in their favor, you know what I'm saying? And this is the sort of shit, this is the shit that's really special to me. Guys like this who gave it everything they had and left a fucking, left a beautiful corpse, I guess, right? What's that idiom about that shit? Yeah. So here's a record that I've shit on kind of a lot in the past. And I'm actually coming around on this thing. It's this record. Now, I've been known to quip that, like, all the best new album records are 45s and that sort of thing. Compilations in 45s, and most LPs were kind of crap. And this tended to be one that I would point to, because in contrast with the singles by Jaguar, I always found this to be kind of flat and lifeless. But, I don't know why it's taken me so long, but I feel like I'm just starting to get my head around some of these songs, like Dutch Connection or The Fox or, Prisoner and shit like that. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just that I've played it enough times that the familiarity started to come in. Now, I'm sure it doesn't hurt that I listened to the live record on Buried by Time and Dust a couple times, because these sound hotter on that record too. But yeah, I've really come around on this LP. So I actually bought this in the wild. I'm pretty sure I bought this at Recycled Records on Haight Street, on Haight and Masonic. And it's not there anymore, unfortunately. But I bought this there in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. And it's not a neat one, it's the Italian license on Bass Record. Not Bass Records, Bass Record. As in all your bass are belong to us. So here, this is the sort of thing I'm talking about. Like, this is pretty rockin', you know, but the songwriting feels a little bit dated, and I don't know exactly what that date is, but this record's a little bit later than that, if that makes sense. Yeah, here's another one I just went ahead and rolled the dice on. You know something? I kind of blame our friend Alan over at Let's Talk Metal for this one. I mean, Chevy is a pretty lame name for a band, right? And, you know, this record cover has always made me think of Chris de Burgh, right? But it's not just that it makes me think of Chris de Burgh, it's that it actually looks like the cover of Crusader by Chris de Burgh. So it's really about, from that standpoint, I mean, as wimps go, Chris de Burgh was pretty cool, you know? But he was still fucking a wimp, right? If I'm buying metal records, I don't necessarily want to be taking my inspiration from massive wimps like, otherwise pretty cool Chris de Burgh. But, you know something? Alan was hyping, he didn't hype this record. He said he liked it, okay? With just about as much reservation as I just put into that statement right there. And that's really exactly right. Like, if I wanted to shit on this record, I would say it sounds like a really good Molly Hatchet record. You know, if you go by the adage that you know, 70s hard rock bands from Britain would eventually go southern rock, like Sabbath did it and Deep Purple did, right? It was kind of a joke, right? These guys kind of started out there. But that said, it's a pretty cool record. I mean, it sounds like 1980. It rocks pretty hard. It's not like a metal record, you know. It's weak sauce compared to what Venom was doing at the same time, right? But if you want to just listen to like a cool hard rock record from this era, and like, you know, if you're stuck on like, you know, Loverboy or Billy Squire, and you want something a little bit heavier than that, because that's just a little bit too wimpy for you, like it is for me, Chevy's a pretty good band, you know? It's maybe a little less heavy than Demon. Maybe not the same as Demon, actually. I think the production on the Demon records is a little bit more metallic than this one. This one definitely has more sort of a hard rock production, if that makes sense, you know? I mean, I might just mean less distortion now that I'm thinking about it. I have to listen again, but anyway, the Chevy record's a fun record. I actually really like it, and it's cheap. The only problem is no one in the U.S. seems to have a fucking copy. So it's a $10 record, but you have to cough up for shipping from overseas. So I don't know, man. Such is life sometimes. Yeah, these guys are kind of like weenies. You know? That's one of those bands that look like they could go either way, you know? And by that metric, these guys are fucking solid. You know, this is really not a bad record. Alan is right. But when Alan says, I like it, instead of saying, oh, that's a fucking classic, you need it, heed that little note of hesitation too, you know what I'm saying? Hey, so here's a little public service announcement, okay? This is brand new. I knew this was coming, but I kind of forgot about it. But this just came in the mail today. This is, to my knowledge, the first ever vinyl pressing of the Valor demo that I believe came out before the LP. There are a few songs on here from the LP, like Fight for Your Life and Burn. And honestly, it might be all the songs. I haven't played the LP in a long time, so I don't remember them all right off. Excuse me. It's that fucking Coke, man. Hey, but being off the Paxlovid, a couple people asked me about that. Yeah, that was the shit that was making my mouth taste so horrible that I was bitching about last time. Like, the COVID fucked with my sense of taste a little bit too, for sure, but that mouth thing was weird, man. Anyway, listen, this is fucking fantastic, okay? It sounds like a demo, okay? It definitely, like, you know, sometimes people talk about hearing the space, You definitely hear their space in this one. You know what I mean? It sounds like the practice space, but it has a lot of punch. And the fact is, if you compare this to the LP, I think this might actually sound better. Because even though it's a little bit, it sounds less professional. The LP, I've always thought, I always felt like the production hurt that record a little bit because it just sounds a little bit muffled and kind of dampened down and just kind of muddy and like not really alive. You know what I mean? Kind of dead. You know. And this record does not have that. This record doesn't have a good production job, okay? But it does not have that sort of dead sound the LP has. And given that you can still get this for a fraction of what the LP costs now, there might be LP reissues too, actually. I shouldn't even say that. Fight for Your Life is a cool record too, but this one, fucking banger, man. And it's good people over at Retroactive too, so, hell yeah. Give them the thumbs up. This is 87, that's actually later than I thought, but I guess the LP must have been late 87 or 88, which I guess does track, so. I thought this was earlier than that for some reason. Hey, so I talked about another record earlier that I'm finally getting my head around in the form of that Jaguar one. Well, here's another one, man. And I actually figured out exactly what my problem with this record was. This record is fucking fantastic. Now, this is not my first time owning this record. It's kind of a classic reggae album, you know? And when I had it, I initially got it because it's a classic reggae album. When I first got into reggae years and years and years ago and just was looking to branch out beyond Bob Marley and Peter Tosh, basically, right? And I don't know, man, this one always just felt a little bit kind of lame to me, you know? But pulling it out again, and now that I know who the Upsetters are and shit, I was like, you know, it's time to give this thing another chance. So I did on this latest reggae kick. It's one of only a few reggae albums I've actually bought. And first of all, this is fucking fantastic. Second of all, I can't believe how many of these tunes I recognize from other dubs, you know, from having been reworked in other Upsetters records. Like these being the original versions, presumably. It's like discovering your roots or something like that. It's a weird thing because so much of this record is so deep in my heart without me having realized that it all is off this fucking Max Romeo, you know, just because it's been reworked versions. But the thing is, like, Uptown Babies is like this kind of, you know, melancholy soul song, like upbeat and shit, with sort of a reggae beat, right? But it doesn't sound like a reggae song. It sounds like sort of a soul song, like what you hear on a Johnny Nash record or something like that. And first of all, that's kind of the problem with the shit that you're gonna get on the English labels, right? So like you get something like this, which was on Island, I'm pretty sure, it might have been Mango, one of those. It's gonna sound a lot better than the shit that you're getting pressed in Jamaica, but you're gonna have to put up with more of that kind of crap where they're sort of trying to appeal to the mainstream and going less pure with the reggae. So yeah, like Chase the Devil and War in a Babylon though, like right after that kind of bummer of a tune, are absolutely fantastic, man. One Step Forward, I don't know, I used to find that annoying. I like it now. So maybe I just come around on the song. Definitely fine. Second one, you know, I get it. It's not a bad song, but it doesn't belong on this fucking record. And that thing is where I was getting stuck. That song is why I didn't like the record. So if you want to check out a fantastic fucking reggae record, but you don't like Johnny Nash, this one deserves your attention, but skip over that second fucking song because it's bad. It's not bad, it just doesn't belong there. It's actually really good. It's a great performance, you know. I just kind of resent it because I feel like there's 30 years of my life I could have been enjoying this record. I missed it because of that one fucking song that wasn't even a hit anyway, as far as I know. So it's not like it did him any good either. Let's see what else I have here. I want to show a couple other reggae records, but you know, I've played a couple of lately. Some of these Wackies records. I've hyped this before, but I'm not really an expert on this shit. It's some shit that was actually produced in Brooklyn, like, I think in the late 70s and early 80s. Like, this is one of them, like, Tribesmen Dub Assault. Dub-wise. And it's just this whole series of great dub albums, man, with, like, this band. I think they were Jamaican expats hanging out in New York. I really don't know who any of these guys are, except from other Wackies records, you know? But, one guy... has the notable name of Jerry Hitler. Can you imagine being named that? So yeah, don't snooze on Bull Wacky, man. All these fucking records are great. They sound a little bit more modern, you know. If I'm really in the mood for like, it's funny, like getting into the drum specifics. I don't really have the vocabulary for this shit, but if you're really getting into the deep one-drop shit, like from the '70s, which a lot of times is what I'm actually kind of putting these records on for. Sometimes I just sit back and just listen to drum patterns. These things have a more sort of modern one that uses more snare and kind of has. I don't want to say a little bit more aggression, but like a little bit of a harder hit than in the '70s records. You know what I mean? And it does kind of give a different vibe. But these records are so good. By the way, that dude's Jerry Hitster on here. It's a pretty good pseudonym, actually. That's a great picture of Prince Douglas right there too. Yeah. Great dub shit. Really has its own sound. If you know Lee Perry's sound, and you know King Tubby's sound, and you know Augustus Pablo's sound, and you know Scientist's sound, you really need to check out Bull Wacky's sound. Nature's Dub is a great one. Look at that fucking cutout picture right there. How great is that? You know, as if that weren't like enough of a sales job right there. It's just that fantastic cover art. Yeah, there's this African Roots series too. And it's like the Bull Wackies All Stars. I mean, some of these are sort of credited to someone, but I just sort of have them all under Wackies in my thing. Now, there were a few that were more like Roots records that were produced by the label too. Like, there's actually a guy named John Clark. Who was, you know, a soulful singer, made 2 nice records, but don't confuse him with Johnny Clark, because he's a different guy. Also reggae. And there were a couple other guys like that. I think Sugar Minot might have made a couple records for Wacky. I could be wrong about that, though. I'm not sure. I think so. Oh, shit. Going to the memory banks. Maybe the Lovejoys did one, too. Anyway, I tend to gravitate towards the dub stuff, man. But the dub stuff is just one fucking winner after another. If it says Wackies and it says Dubwise on it, and you're not necessarily going to fuck up getting the Roots stuff either. Like, this is a 12-inch by Itopia. And it has Creation and the Dubwise version. And dude, this thing flows, you know? The message from John on the other side. It's like, you know, it's like a showcase, you know? If you know this reggae vocabulary where you see like a showcase album. I want to put in that Valor for a second. It's keeping with the spirit of the channel, I think, to be playing a metal record while I'm talking about reggae. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I was going to talk about this in the introduction video that I did a while ago. One vocabulary word you'll come across occasionally when you're buying reggae records is showcase. And what that generally means, if you don't know this, is that you'll have like a vocal song followed by a dub version of the song, and then another song, and then the dub version of that song, sort of alternating. You know what I mean? So like if you see Prince Farai's Showcase in a Suitcase, there are like 3 or 4 different bands that each have songs, then he has a dub of each one after each track. It's kind of an interesting format, and if the songs are bad, it can be kind of tedious, but when it's cool, it can be really cool, man. So I really like showcase albums, and I brought this up because there's one on Wackies that I was going to talk about. I don't remember the name of it. Well, there we go. I'm going to attribute that to the COVID brain fog, so just forgive me on that shit. I had one other thing I wanted to show, and I forgot what that was too. So talked about the showcase. Yeah, they get 10 points for like doing this kind of a vocal intro in their demo. You know, that's some dedication that I can totally salute. I remember what it was. There's a specific record that someone asked me about recently in the comments section. And I'm spacing who it was, and I'm sorry, because I feel like an asshole. It's someone who comments all the time and is like, someone I really appreciate on the channel. And we were talking about this Noisy Beast. Look, I knew I'd forget, so I actually made a fucking note. I'm a step ahead of myself. I did this before the brain fog set in. Noisy Beast, thanks for watching the channel. He was asking about this Ground Nation record by the Mystic Revelation of Rastafari. Now, this is sort of a legendary record, okay? I mean, there are all sorts of reissues. It's not necessarily that tough to find. Oh, this is an early pressing of it. And it's released as like it has 3 individual jackets. You see that? They're all printed. It's a 3-record set. This is not really a reggae record. It's more like some guys singing and chanting and a lot of like sort of jamming that's almost more jazz than anything else. A lot of drums, also a lot of like recitations, like talking about sort of like the Rasta lore, basically, coming from Africa to Jamaica, and the whole story that's the foundation of the religion, more or less. It's interesting stuff, but it's not something you like reach for all the time, you know what I mean? Now, the legend around this is that this is like from a Ground Nation, which is like, assuming I'm pronouncing that right, it's like what the Rastas do when they like get together and have their religious ceremonies. I'm really disinclined to believe that the Rastas would just let that shit be recorded for consumption by frankly, white people outside of Jamaica. It just seems kind of implausible. So this is probably more like a packaged thing that was sort of sold that way in order to make it sound exotic and sort of enticing. I mean, when I was 18, I fell for it, and I don't regret it either. It's an interesting record, It's just, I suspect that a lot of the myth around it is myth, That said, Count Ossie and the Mystic Revelation of Rastafari have made other records too. And a lot of them seem sort of less, I don't know a whole lot of them. I have 1 or 2 others, and they're less sort of like exploito records like this, and more sort of straight ahead, lots of heavy drums. That's more sort of like, we'll focus on that than like straight reggae again, but interesting stuff though. So don't snooze on Count Ossie, and Mystic Revelation of Rastafari is worth listening to online, but don't spend a ton of money on the record or anything, so. Doesn't this sound good? I think it sounds more alive than the album does, Fight for Your Life, but they're both bangers, so. Okay, thanks for watching. That's it. Until next time.